This review is brought to you by absolutely no one. We have no sponsors and no one cares.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another Movie Mates video. I am Matthew, here with my wonderful host and best friend,
Callum.
Callum. Do you want to let people know what we're going to be discussing today?
We're going to be talking Joker today, Matthew.
Yep.
Better late than never.
Yeah, like...
I asked Matthew for a brief delay on this one, because I was just sorting out my thoughts. We left the theatre, and I could not decide whether I loved it or hated it.
Yeah.
And I've landed slightly more clearly in one area, and we'll get into that.
We'll reveal our true thoughts. Yeah, before we get into the review, we'd like to thank everyone who's recently subscribed, liked, shared the video. We really appreciate it. And as always, we would encourage you to leave your comments and thoughts down. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Can speak for a second now. But yeah, this is just going to be a classic mini review, spoiler-free section and a spoiler section.
Indeed.
But yeah, do you just want to kick us off with spoiler-free thoughts, whatever you have?
I do not have many, if I'm honest, Matthew.
No, it's not really. Nothing much happens, if I'm honest.
It's a very uneventful film.
Yeah.
I suppose we should talk about music. Great, yes.
Score, the score as well, really gives the impression of like a sort of mentally unstable vibe, if you get me.
Yeah, it's all the like discordant string music.
And the tunes, the actual 80s bops used, you could say, are good. Especially in one particular scene. I'll not reveal which one, but you probably have an idea. Actually, isn't a spoiler, but when he becomes the Joker.
Yeah,
I love that.
One of our friends has since told me that is a song by Gary Glitter, a pedophile.
Is it?
Yeah, do you want to pause this so I can actually double check that?
Yeah.
I have double checked it, and yes, he is indeed a child molester.
Unfortunately.
So, Matthew said that he will enjoy that song less.
Yeah, it's not a good song, but yeah, for obvious reasons, I'll enjoy it less.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, buddy? I'll just go through your thoughts.
I mean, it's very limited. I suppose next I want to talk about Joaquin.
Oscar-worthy performance for me.
I agree.
I think
he's incredible.
He is. This is probably the best performance I've ever seen from an actor, and I don't say that lightly. Like, I mean it. I think his Joker laugh is like painful. Like
it is painful, but I think the reason that he does laugh is a bit contrived.
Do you think? Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
I think where they go to achieve that laugh is, you know,
too on the nose for you.
Too on the nose for someone who dresses up as a clown. Yeah.
Okay. One thing I wanted to say was the film. I'm just gonna get my only negative thought out of the way.
Okay.
For anyone who hasn't already guessed, that I love it. It's one of my favorite films of all time. But I think this film could be very unrealistic in some cases with certain plot lines and how things unfold. I'll get into that more in spoilers, of course. But you know, I think some events and the implications for a tiny event has huge implications for the rest of the film, which I think it's not the most realistic, and then that sort of, to use the term of our English essay, strains the credulity for the audience somewhat.
I think it's incredibly poorly written.
Yeah, script-wise, even.
Yep, so predictable.
Okay.
You know, anticlimactic. I mean, we'll get into it in spoilers.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I thought this film was really depressing. It's probably more depressing than Logan, I would say.
Yeah.
But probably is funnier than Logan, because obviously, like, it's a
Joker.
As well.
Yeah, it's meant to be sick, dark comedy, which we love.
Yeah. Logan's got more of a nostalgic, depressed tone. Whether this, because obviously this film doesn't have the franchise before it to solidify that. I think this film sort of relies on feeling sympathy for the character.
Yes.
And I guess that's a minor criticism. Does the film does the film want the audience to feel sympathy for Arthur? Which obviously it does.
Yeah.
But does that mean it finds an excuse for his actions?
It's complicated, because obviously I think the people that are saying that this film should be criticized because it could encourage violence, I think that's not a fair criticism.
No,
because if you just ignore topic areas, then you don't break any ground when it comes to film.
Exactly.
You need to address all topic areas, including, I think, having a film from the perspective of a villain.
Mhm.
But yes, I think regretfully it maybe does go too far in making me feel sympathy for him, because I left the cinema saying, none of the people that he killed were innocent,
Yes.
but obviously no one deserves to die.
That's what I mean.
So it is a complicated and fine line.
I think the Joker character is never a character you should ever feel sympathy for.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe in The Killing Joke, where he's a failed comedian.
I think it's a mistake. Yeah.
But I think that's just a different take on the character. The costume is nothing like that of the comic, really, at all. But
No.
it's a totally different color palette, really. The look's even different, But albeit, like, saying that, I just think this Joker is so amazing. Like, I loved it so much.
Okay.
And I thought, in general, the casting was great. There's not one member of the cast that I think of really that gives a bad performance, really. I mean, Zazie Beetz is fine. She serves the role well.
Yeah.
But no, she's certainly up for. I think Zazie Beetz is good in this one as well.
Frances Conroy as his mother is, I would argue, the weakest.
Okay, that's interesting.
But I suppose she's not given a whole lot to do.
True.
I don't think she's maybe given the opportunity to shine.
Yeah.
And she's sort of a more quiet, reserved character.
Yeah.
So I suppose if that was her intention, she played it well.
Another thing I wanted to mention was how thin Arthur is. Or
Yeah.
sorry, rather
Joaquin
Phoenix.
Yeah.
He's really thin. We
Yeah.
had mentioned it in about the CGI RDJ
Yes.
at the beginning of the film, but this is way worse. And
I
this
mean,
is real.
This is real, yeah. I mean, you can see his rib cage, and it was unsettling when he was dancing.
And the scene where it's shown in the trailer, so I assume it's
Yeah.
okay for me to say this, but when he's like tying laces on the clown.
Yeah,
boots.
and you can see his entire spine.
Yeah,
It's upsetting.
It'd be really upsetting, and I think that adds to the physical and the physicality of his performance. Like,
Yeah.
this is amazing, and this is why he deserves. Like, this is the dedication he's making for the role. I had done some research, and I had found that Joaquin Phoenix himself is a vegan,
Right.
which I would imagine would be hard enough to find the calorie input for the day. Never
Yeah.
mind, trying to starve himself for the role.
Yeah.
So dedication. and
He
props to-
lost so much weight that they said that reshoots weren't an option.
52 pounds, I think it was.
Yeah,
Like,
so-
that's amazing.
So
the
like
weight loss.
they wrote the script as they were shooting it
Mhm.
because it was so dangerous for him to
Do you think
remain
maybe
at
why
that weight.
that's why for you the script isn't at that top level?
It's certainly a possibility, yeah, but I don't think method acting makes your performance better.
Do you think a lot of actors get
I-
too much like
I think they get too much credit for changing their physique because I'm not, I don't think his thinness makes his performance any better.
okay
I think the character and his performance would be exactly the same
if it was just normal size?
if he was a healthy weight. I don't think it brings anything to the character.
Okay, that's interesting.
I mean, it brings interest to the film in that
Yeah.
he did that,
Yeah,
but I don't think it brings something to the character.
that's a good viewpoint. That's a perfect point.
Did you want to talk about the costume? Because I think you said that you were a bit disappointed
No,
on screen.
I'll be honest. For amount of time as the Joker he is in this movie, which is
Minimal.
I think the costume is a little disappointing, and when I say the costume, I don't mean the suit. I mean the face paint
Yes.
and the hair. It's just it tries to be Ledger. I think it tries too much to be Ledger's Joker in the fact that it's painted on himself.
Right.
But I prefer the Joker I like the origin for the Joker when he falls into a vat of chemicals and it bleaches his skin. Like, I quite like that. But that's not to say I dislike the portrayal of the costume in either The Dark Knight or in Joker, because Ledger's performance is one of my favorite performances of all time.
Right.
And obviously Joaquin Phoenix I think is even better than Ledger's. Like, I'm willing to say he's better than Ledger's.
Okay.
For me, is he better than Ledger for you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope we don't get any hate in the comments for that, but I do think it's a stronger performance, yeah.
Mhm.
I was happy with the face paint. I mean, in this obviously grittier, more ultra realistic version of the character, I think it's appropriate.
It is what I would imagine a Joker in real life would look like, to be honest.
But what is your thoughts on the new? Well, I mean, sort of a trend that's happened since Batman Begins of the ultra realistic take on, like, silly characters.
I think it works for this film,
Okay.
but I'm trying for other films. I don't think it works in Venom. Like they try to make it a realistic sort of.
Yeah.
I guess that's not really the best comparison to use it. It's I'm trying to give an example. Ultra realism.
Yeah.
I guess they try to do it a little bit with an instance where it works is Captain America in the MCU.
Mm.
I think that works, but where I don't think it works
The Amazing Spider-Man.
is the Amazing Spider-Man is what I was about to say.
Yeah.
It's a little silly, but I think this film bridges that gap perfectly. And I also wanted to mention in terms of costume. I know we had went off a bit there, but I think he looks a lot healthier in the costume as well.
Yeah.
Which I think is obviously supposed to be a metaphor, and I suppose as well as a coincidence that it was filmed probably.
Do you mean sort of he becomes his true
He
self?
becomes his true self and embraces who he is at the end, which
Yeah.
I thought was intentional as well.
Mm.
So props to Phoenix and Phillips for that.
Yeah. Speaking of the dark tone of those kinds of films, I do think it's appropriate for this film.
Yeah.
But when we talk about The Dark Knight one day, I'll share my grievances with that trilogy.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think Batman, such a silly concept works. I mean, I'm calling it silly as in ridiculous, not as in
Yeah.
stupid, because I'm obviously a massive superhero fan. I'm just saying, for me, the Dark Knight trilogy does not work on any level.
I rewatched The Dark Knight Rises.
I get so
last
much.
week.
I get so much hate in my school.
Part
get
of me
so
agrees
much
with you
hate.
because in the ending of The Dark Knight Rises where Batman fights Bane in the streets of Gotham in daylight.
Yeah.
I just realized Batman.
The dumbest shit you've ever seen.
No matter, and this isn't a criticism of the character, it's just an observation. For me, the Batman character will never work at daytime ever.
No, I agree.
Because he's built on. This has gone off topic a bit, but he's built on the predication of fear and
Fear
the
and the
nighttime.
night. Yeah.
And it just it looks ridiculous in The Dark Knight Rises as well.
It does. I fully agree.
Like I think it looks good in the sewer fight where it's dark, but it looks totally out of place for me in
Yeah.
the streets of
And
Gotham.
we'll get into full details when we review the Dark Knight trilogy.
Absolutely.
Hopefully with our friend Jack.
Hopefully we would like to have Jack on as well as other friends of ours and get for guests because we're probably before maybe just after the new year perhaps.
Yeah.
Do
you have any further non-spoiler thoughts?
I just want to I just have a few more, but
yeah, go ahead.
I thought the film was amazing visually. A lot of great cinematography on the part, and obviously sort of the metaphor. I guess this is probably going a bit deep for the film, but anyway, that's just a point I had. When it's in the trailer, he goes up and down the stairs as Joker, while Arthur Fleck going up the stairs and his Joker going down the stairs. And I think that's probably a metaphor for once again like embracing who he is, and descending into darkness.
The visual dichotomy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I also, I think the film is noticeably a lot more bright when he becomes Joker.
Yeah. Which is I mean that's obviously, that must be a.
Like a lot of it is grey and dull
choice.
before that.
But yeah, I mean a fair chunk of the conclusion of the film takes place in the day, which now that you point out is odd. It's uncharacteristic of this kind of film.
It is very uncharacteristic, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. Really. What about anything for you, bro?
That's all that I have for non-spoilers. Was there anything more from you?
Nothing for me
Okay.
really. Did you want to give a rating at this stage?
I wanted to ask you, Matthew. Massive hit or piece of shit?
Yeah, massive hit. I
Right.
loved it. Like one of the top 5 films of all time for me.
Okay. I'm gonna have to say piece of shit, guys.
No, seriously?
I'm gonna have to say piece of shit.
Ah man, I was hoping you would have edged towards massive hit.
No, 'cause
Really?
in my head, a massive hit has to be a 7 and above.
What's this fall short to?
Six and a half
yeah.
at best. I
Oh,
mean, I can't fault the acting, I can't fault the cinematography, but the writing is.
Well, I suppose on that we'll begin the spoiler section.
Yeah.
We predicted the film.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say in collaboration we predicted every big.
That's not to blow
we've
like
moved on to spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, that's not to blow our own trumpets. Like, it's not saying, "Oh, look at us, we're so great." Like, we
But,
did predict something like that.
I mean, if you watch one trailer, you know every story beat.
Apart from Bruce Wayne. Sorry, Thomas Wayne.
Well, I mean,
subplot.
yeah, but I'd heard about that on the internet, so that was known to me. I mean, probably a year ago, because it was in very very early drafts.
I think it was
with
the first look photo, maybe. That was. I think that maybe.
That theory emerged so long ago,
Mhm.
and then I was confident of it, and then it happened. So I was not surprised by pretty much anything in this film.
I suppose we'll just go on with the biggie then. For you, does this well, I know it does from previously speaking to you about it, but the fantasy element and what we don't do and do not know about the plot, is it an illusion, and your feelings on that?
It's my belief and my hope that the film is all real and it does not take place inside his head. Because as Matthew knows, I hate ambiguity.
Yeah.
And I hate dreamscapes and illusions. I detest it in films. You know, I want to know what's happening.
Yeah, of course.
So I beg of them that that it doesn't turn out that it was all fantasy.
Yeah. Well, obviously it's revealed that Sophie, most if not all of his interactions with Sophie are fake.
Yes.
Which that's sort of what leads me on to the unrealistic element of it.
Yeah.
You know, the film does try hard to make you feel as though Sophie is actually in love with Arthur, but there are certain scenes where for example, when he stalks her and then she like accepts him and then goes on dates with him. That sort of like that just wouldn't happen.
You mean even in his illusions there? Because I mean,
no, I just mean like it's obvious that they're not real, is what I mean.
Well, yeah, it is because he stalks her and then he goes to her and they have like a wee joke about him following her in the streets, and I was like, well, clearly this is an illusion because she's not an idiot and he's a psycho.
Mm-hmm,
you know.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing
do not follow people. I mean, like,
yeah, like he's even watching their daughter in school. Like that
was terrifying.
That was terrifying.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say was, I guess, when they go in with the Thomas Wayne subplot, and do you like it?
Sure. I really like the idea that the Joker and Batman are, illegitimate brothers.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I love that concept,
love it,
and I'm fully willing to accept that that's the truth, and that Thomas Wayne just covered it up with the adoption papers.
Yeah.
I mean that's the only part of the film that I really respected as sort of groundbreaking. Because that's obviously not something that's been brought up in Batman comics before.
Yeah.
So if that is true and Thomas Wayne just covered it up, I will.
But yeah, part of me thinks that he probably did. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
I was just thoroughly uninterested.
Really?
I don't give a shit if she is dead.
Yeah.
I mean, just they invested so little in making that character interesting. I mean, even if the illusions had been real, I mean, I think she only had about 3 pieces of dialogue.
That's it. She's in the film for a really long stretch, for quite consecutive, and then there's a break with her in it for, I would say, like 40 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, even if their relationship was real, I mean, it was a nothing relationship because I mean she doesn't even speak on the dates that we see. He's clearly just he doesn't know what personality to give her in his illusions, so she doesn't really have one. Therefore, we're not really presented with a 3-dimensional character.
Yeah.
So, it never crossed my mind that she had died, just because she totally left my mind as soon as we saw her last, because she was just a nothing character.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about the cinema scene where the rich Gotham socialites are all watching a Charlie Chaplin film and pissing themselves.
Yeah. Unrealistic, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, our friend Jack pointed out that it may just be sort of a metaphor for them being so out of touch of society.
Ignorant with society, yeah.
But no, I refuse to accept that because I mean, you just see like Charlie Chaplin on roller skates and they're like, they're
cackling.
Yeah, they're cackling, and I refuse to accept that. Slapstick is the lowest form of comedy. I get no pleasure from slapstick. Mr. Bean, piss off.
Do you like Mr. Bean?
Nah.
I love Mr. Bean.
Dickhead.
Oh.
Get out of here.
One thing that really
Chuckle Brothers. Jog on.
No, don't. I'll not have you speak about the Chuckle Brothers in this podcast. To me, to you.
Jog on.
One thing that really shocked me in the film was killing his mum.
Really?
Sorry, adopted mum.
That did not surprise me whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, I predicted that his mum was going to die. I said, I thought that she would probably die of the stroke that she had.
And that would send him into chaos.
So I suppose I was subverted slightly by him killing her.
Yeah.
But the death itself was no surprise to me.
Mm-hmm.
What about Gary and Randall? Two bloody legends.
Absolutely. Remind me again. Oh yes, the
Gary is the little person, and Randall is the one who provides him with the gun.
About the gun, like,
Don't give a person with mental illness a gun.
Also, like, why would you're allowed guns? Why you're allowed guns in America? Like,
Yeah.
Why did that get him fired? Because
there's restrictions on people with mental health having guns.
Fair enough. That's
So Randall is sort of somewhat morally responsible for the 3 subway deaths.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Arthur insists that he should not take the gun, and Randall almost forces it on him.
Well, that's what I kind of wanted to mention. Do you think it's? I personally, I don't think it's realistic at all. But wanted to ask you whether you think it's realistic that just because a guy in a clown costume kills 3 guys, the whole of Gotham is sort of standing up and protesting as a clown movement. I didn't think that was realistic at all. Really, like just how instantly it happened overnight.
Yeah. So they explained that the reason the people are wearing clown masks are because Thomas Wayne referred to the lower class as clowns.
Yeah.
So that's why they begin with rioting in clown masks. But the fact that every single one of them views Joker, a killer, as their savior, that's incredibly unrealistic. I did not accept that whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean,
especially at the end when he kills Murray Franklin live on TV.
Can we mention that now? Because one of my favorite movie scenes of all time.
Oh wow, really?
Probably one of my favorite lines of all time.
Do you want to take it away?
When he says, "What do you get when you cross a mentally ill loner with the society who doesn't care about him and treats him like trash? You get what you fucking deserve," and then blows his brains out. I thought that was excellent. I love that line so much. Yeah. And just the fact that he's crying and you just see like the blue streak of makeup.
Yeah.
I was probably my favorite cinematic line of all time.
Also the drunk driver joke.
You have no idea how bad I felt laughing at that. I'd like to preface that other people in the theater were laughing. It wasn't just us.
No, it's an uncomfortable silence about morbid humor. And I think that is the current zeitgeist of humor. Where I think the darker the humor is, the funnier.
Same with
the funnier the people currently find it. Yeah, the same with Gary trying to escape the apartment.
I feel bad for Gary. I thought he was gonna kill Gary.
Is it Gary? I think it is Gary.
We'll go with Gary.
We'll go with it.
But yeah, like I thought I don't know if you've seen Dark Knight Returns, right? The movie.
I have, yeah.
You know the scene. Well, I suppose it's a reference to it
parallel, yeah.
When he reintroduces himself to society through a talk show and kills everyone at the talk show.
Mm-hmm.
Probably it's exactly what happens in the film, really. Yeah. And I love that personally. One thing I think that maybe ruins the scene is the fact that they cut away when he goes to talk to the camera, but then that parallel shot when you see like there's 30 different cameras in the security room, because I've heard different breakdowns in the film say that he kills like members of the audience and stuff in certain shots that you see, but you know I wasn't.
I don't think he does.
You think he lets the audience go?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my big problem with that is Murray Franklin is a fuckwit. Because I mean, the show is live. If Murray just calmly talked to him and had him confess on live TV, now he has proof that he's killed people and he walks away with his life. But he decides to just, aggravate him until the point of provoking him to kill him, which I think was just incredible stupidity.
I agree. I thought I thought one of the most emotional scene in the film for me was when I think Murray Franklin asked him what have I done, and then Arthur replies by you made fun of me in front of live TV.
Yeah.
I thought that was really emotional because I thought it was quite relatable as well. People get made fun of all the time, and it's not nice to see.
Yeah.
And I thought that.
And he's more emotionally vulnerable because of his mental illness.
Murray was a character you're supposed to dislike because he is the epitome of the upper class and their ignorance towards society.
Yeah.
And the fact that he gets the Joker on just for his own monetary gain because he knows that that's going to boost the viewers.
Yeah.
Is ridiculous. It's cruel.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he didn't deserve to die or anything.
No, but he wasn't innocent.
No, and neither as you quite rightly pointed out, none of the victims of the Joker's wrath, shall we call it, were innocent.
Yeah, I've counted that he unquestionably kills 6 people.
Yeah.
The 3 people on the subway, Murray Franklin, his mother, and Randall.
Yeah.
None of which, were morally,
He is responsible for many other deaths, most notably Thomas and
Thomas
Martha
Martha
Wayne,
Wayne, yeah.
which I wanted to talk to you about, and your thoughts on bringing the Batman universe into this and leading to a potential sequel.
Oh, I hated it so much.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm
I
interested
mean,
to see why.
you know, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You know, either have it be a gritty, separated Elseworld origin story for the Joker, or don't. You know, like you can't have Batman created in the Joker film if you're claiming that it's its own universe. I mean, it just seemed to contradict sort of their intention for the film.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess the director Todd Phillips probably did that because a lot of people say you can't have a Joker film without the Batman in it. I think he sort of took a route where he didn't want to have Batman in it, but he wanted to have the Waynes as the. I guess you could say the Waynes are the villains of the film. From Arthur's perspective,
Thomas
certainly, and obviously
because he represents the 1%, rich beyond belief, who are failing to help the lower classes of Gotham.
I guess in terms of we'll mention Bruce Wayne.
Sure.
I thought I thought Wayne Manor had very poor security for millionaires.
I know, I mean, the fence was low enough to hop.
And he could,
it would have been
he was
easy.
I think he was going to kill Alfred. I thought,
would have been funny.
Well, and then I thought the kid who played a young Bruce Wayne was thoroughly uncharismatic.
Oh, does he even have a single line?
He doesn't
have
a line, but there's no even look of fear in his face when a random stranger's going like that to him. He's just deadpan. I thought they could have maybe gotten a better, or even the kid from Batman vs Superman. I thought he was fine. But anyway, did you have any thoughts on that particular scene or Alfred? In fact, because I quite like.
Well, Alfred. not on that scene, but on the Waynes. I don't like the idea that Batman's villains create Batman. I prefer the idea that that Batman creates his villains.
Yeah.
Because that actually, I think that's so much more interesting.
Me too.
So I don't think having a Joker story before Batman exists is a good idea, and I don't think they executed it well enough to convince me that it was.
Okay. Oh, that's yeah. That was well put. To be fair, I do agree with you. I like the fact that Batman is sort of going to be always there, rather than he's how should I put it? He is an outcome of villainous acts. But Batman should be there from the start of the villainous acts, not be there because of villainous acts.
Yeah.
Which is quite rightly, like you said, a criticism of the film, I think.
Yeah, I was disappointed that the talk show was the climax of the film. Because my brother had seen this film 4 days before its release, and he had promised that the last 25 minutes were spectacular. So I was waiting this entire time, and I sat through that, which I thought, oh well, this can't be the third act because this wasn't great. And then the film ended, and I was so disappointed. I kept waiting for that moment of greatness where the really awesome 25 minutes kicks in, and it never came for me.
For me, it came when he
starts running from the police.
Well, starts running from the police, but more for me when his police car gets hit by an ambulance or whatever it is, and then he's bleeding, and then he gets the blood and makes a smile with it. I thought that was absolutely beautiful and so poetic as well, and a great scene. But I do agree with you. I think the ending does drag on a little bit.
Yeah.
It seems quite. I do hate using this term with endings because I have done it before in reference to it at chapter 2, but I think it's very self-congratulatory.
Yeah.
It feels like Phillips is trying to say, look at the character I created, whereas I don't think he gives enough credit to the original character that was it Bob Kane and Bill Finger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, primarily just Bill Finger, basically.
Yeah. I mean, what are your opinions on the ending in general? More specifically, the Arkham scene.
Well, just a quick thing.
Yeah.
I mean, publicly killed 6 people. Maybe send more than 2 police officers.
Yeah, he's probably the most wanted man in Gotham. If not America.
Time, yeah. I'd say Gotham.
Yeah, serial killer. How many police officers? 2.
Literally 2. It was 1 police car. There was no armored vehicle. No, squadron.
Yeah.
It was literally 1 squad car. Yeah. Just to talk about it, I do not understand why so many people would be inspired by Murderer. I don't get it.
I feel like maybe Phillips was trying to suggest that the lower class don't feel represented by the politicians, so they have to be represented by the people. But I do agree with you that it's a bit unreal. Like, I don't think, I know it's a different time, but I don't think, let's say it is basically it's 37 years. I think no, sorry, 38 years. I don't think people today would, if there was a sudden killing, of the lower class or whatever, or sorry, upper class. I don't think any the lower classes would stand up against it.
A certain percentage, sure.
Yeah, but not
there
entirely.
There were hundreds in this crowd, and like to me that was, ridiculous.
Yeah.
I do not see that whatsoever. Has a family member texted you?
Have indeed. She's
She's
like Dory's outside. Shout out to my nanny. She's a loyal subscriber.
His nanny is outside, so we'll wrap this up.
Yeah. Well, that was good. I don't know else really.
Final point.
Conclude.
Why are there cigarettes allowed in prison? What are you doing?
To be fair, have you noticed the amount of shots where he's just smoking a cigarette in the final 10 minutes?
I have, yeah.
It is.
Well, as I said, 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah.
10 for me.
Of course. We left the film, and I said to Matthew, I couldn't tell from his face whether he liked it or hated it, and I actually thought it looked like from his face that he really disliked it, and then he just went masterpiece.
But I loved it. Honestly, one of my favorite films of all time. Like, the top 5 for me is interchangeable, but it's definitely up there.
I think my dad summed up quite well for the opinion of most. He said, it was an excellent film, but I couldn't say I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Because it is clearly psychologically tortured.
I think you need to be in the right mind space to view it.
Yeah.
Let's say that.
I think if you're emotionally fragile, this is not the film for you.
No, or for children.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, on that note, Calum and I would like to thank you for watching. We really do appreciate it. And be sure to keep viewing and subscribing and liking because we really appreciate it.
Yeah, click that subscribe button.
Yeah,
Turn
share,
on notifications.
tell your friends. We'll be back with another podcast, obviously, soon.